set the timer, but what are you going to do? I am 3+Kei. I am just an honest Christian here to encourage you to pursue the smile by prioritizing the Lord, your physical health, and persistent education. This right here, this space is called the Secret Heart Club. I usually when we're not going through Proverbs, I go through like who the Lord sent to us to love and serve that day. And I look forward to returning to that format. But as for now, we're going through the chapter of Proverbs that corresponds with the day of the month that it is. And it's the 18th day of the month. So we're in Proverbs 18, but let's sing the ditty. Welcome to the Secret Heart Club, everyone. Just a part to bring love, be loved. Hey, we love Jesus at the Secret Heart Club. Welcome. All right, so we're in chapter 18. I'm going to read it through and then go back, double back, and read the commentary. Are you ready? I'm ready. Ready? You ready? I'm ready. Okay, we're ready. Here we go. Proverbs 18. An unfriendly person pursues selfish ends, and against all sound judgment starts quarrels. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. When wickedness comes, so does contempt, and with shame comes reproach. The words of the mouth are deep waters, but the fountain of wisdom is a rushing stream. It is not good to be partial to the wicked, and so deprive the innocent of justice. The lips of fools bring them strife, and their mouths invite a beating. The mouths of fools are their undoing, and their lips are a snare to their very lives. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts. One who is slack in his work is brother to one who destroys. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it a wall too high to scale. Before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. A gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great. In a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right until someone comes forward and cross-examines. Casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. A brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city. Disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. The poor plead for mercy, but the rich answer harshly. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And so ends Proverbs 18. I want to say hi, guys. Hi, Salustiano, Sunny Girl, and Isk. Hi, guys. All right, we're going to run it back with the commentary here. Proverbs 18. An unfriendly person pursues selfish ends, and against all sound judgment starts quarrels. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. So I read scripture online. That's a little bit of what I do. There's a lot of bit of what I do is just like read the Bible. out of the Bible. And I think because I'm giving it attention, it's in my algorithm, but there is a guy that is very anti-God, and he has this live stream, and I was watching it before I live streamed, and he's got hundreds of people watching him just kind of like obliterate the Lord's name, right? And then and what I'm saying is like that gives me a lot of motivation to double down on being faithful to the Lord and continue to read the word and continue to uplift his name and honor his name, because the devil is at work, and you too should be about the Lord's business, because people are out here with their devilish ways, loud, proud, and pronounced, their devilish talk, committed to misleading the masses. So you, Christian, need to go out there in the world and be the light very boldly, very loudly, and have your light shine across. I think about this all the time. I was talking last week about being a Christian and being friendly. And there was some kind of, we were just kind of discussing, like, not everybody's in the mood. Our girl on here that's often on here, Lord Poppy, is pregnant. She's like, I don't feel like being friendly all the time. And it's like, that's a unique circumstance, right? And then maybe somebody's dealing with grief, or you have like unique circumstances for why, as a Christian, you're not beaming light out at that exact moment. But as a practice, we should focus on being the light, on being friendly, leading with love. That should be a hallmark. So when people think of you, they think of Christ, which might sound a little backwards, so don't chop my words up, but they might not know Christ, but they know you, and they know that you love Christ. So maybe they're more open now to hearing about his healing powers, and you're the conduit for that. You're the vessel for it. You've got to combat these evil opinions, negative opinions about the Lord. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. When wickedness comes, so does contempt, and with shame comes reproach. The words of the mouth are deep waters, but the fountain of wisdom is a rushing stream. It is not good to be partial to the wicked, and so deprive the innocent of justice. I saw this it was like a little short video, and forgive me because I'm probably going to mess it up, but it was something like, they were talking about women who want to get married, and they're saying, a righteous woman can be too righteous for an unholy man, or too unholy for a righteous man. And so she stays single. And it's a commentary on the lukewarm heart of the single woman, but in the broader scheme, the lukewarm heart that we often carry, like, well, like in the instance of abortion, which I don't typically speak on publicly, unless I'm pressed for where I stand on it. But to say like, well, it's okay in these circumstances, or these egregious activities against God, it's okay to have sex if that's your fiance, even though you're not married, and we do these like lukewarm things, that's still leaning toward wicked. If it's not of God, it's the devil, and God is pretty cut and dry on a multitude of subjects and stances. Verse 6. Verse 6. The lips of fools bring them strife, and their mouths invite a beating. Okay. The mouths of fools are their undoing, and their lips are a snare to their very lives. Verse 8, the words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts. The commentary, ignoring rumors and gossip is as hard to do as turning down a delicious dessert. Taking just one bite of either one creates a task for more. You can resist rumors the same way a determined dieter resists candy. Never even open the box. If you don't nibble on the first bite of gossip, you can't take the second and the third. And I'm guilty of that. I have a hairstylist here. My hairstylist went from just like renting a booth or whatever, and now she owns like a 4-room setup with a manicure and like a spa and like TVs and the whole thing. And we both grew up in like around the same people in street culture over a decade ago, right? And since then we've had kids and degrees, and we've moved on with professions, we've moved on with our lives, but we were both like in the street for real. And it's very rare, if you know, that people come out of that as success stories. So most of those people that we used to hang out with like every day are dead, in jail, or addicts. And that's a fact of the matter. So when I get my hair done, she will tell me, because she's still, I don't know what's going on with that, but she's still kind of connected. I am not. I am not. I think I scared everybody off with my Jesus talk because I've been so public about it. Certain people just don't. I reached out to a friend from the past not too long ago, and he blocked me. And there's no other reason besides like we just don't align anymore. And so anyway, I go get my hair done, and she tells me the latest news about who died, who got popped, you know, who went to jail, who's an addict, what the women are doing. I could be better about that. It's not really edifying unless I'm going to go find these people and pray for them, which I'm not going to do. We knew some really dangerous people. You know what I mean? But gossip is a thing that happens in the beauty shop. And that's something for me to really take a hard look at myself about. And maybe you too. Verse 9. One who is slack in his work is brother to one who destroys. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower, but the righteous run to it and are safe. Verse 11, the wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it a wall too high to scale. The commentary. In imagining that their wealth is their strongest defense, rich people are sadly mistaken. Money cannot guarantee safety. It can lose its power in too many ways. The government may cease to back it. Thieves may steal it. Inflation may rob it of all value, but God never loses his power. We can always depend on him. Where do you look for the security and safety? Uncertain wealth or our always faithful God? Jehovah Jireh, God provides. I know that's right. God does provide. And if you're thinking to yourself, if you're watching this and you're like, I might even challenge you guys. Let's say like the Lord has $100 for you. Do you know? What if you like ask the Lord for $100? And not just like, oh, he'll probably forget about it or like half-heartedly, but genuinely ask the Lord and then have a plan, obviously, for that $100, because why would anybody give you anything if you don't have a plan for it? You know what I mean? And just see what happens. Just see what happens. And I'll say this. I have a guy I lift weights with. He's a construction guy, and he's looking for more construction workers. And I know 3 people that work for him, and they really enjoy the work, and it pays really, really well. If I knew the only real qualification, there's 2 qualifications. One, you have to know how to use power tools. And number 2, you have to be willing to like learn and follow instructions. And so I've told 3 men who say that they're broke. They said it, not me. They said that they're broke and they use power tools. I've told 3 men about this job. I'll connect you with him, blah, blah, blah. You will be making probably 50% at least 50% more than what you're making right now. Maybe you'll double what you're making. And people have high job satisfaction. 2 of the men declined and proceeded to talk about how they were broke. Do you know what I mean? And one of them I know is a believer that needs more money and has been praying for more money. And the Lord dropped me in his life to connect him, and he didn't want to do it. And the other one is a 17-year-old kid. I talked to him today. And I bet I would wager he's going to take it. And I was joking with him. I said, you're going to be 18 years old and making more than everybody that you know. That's really cool. Like, you should do that. God provides. We just don't always like how it comes, but that's your fault. That's on you. Verse 12, before a downfall, the heart is haughty. Like, I got this. But humility comes before honor. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? I'll tell you that. I was talking to my therapist, and she was describing, and this is why it's good to talk to people, other people, because I wasn't aware that other people have had this happen to them. But she was describing a type of crying that we do, like something occurs in our life and you're crying so hard, you run out of breath. You ran out of breath. Like I've definitely cried like that and thought I was all alone. And I'm glad that she was saying that she has had events where she's cried like that as well. It's good to share with one another. A crushed spirit it takes so much. Dare I say it, you must have God. You must have God to repair you when your spirit is crushed, because it's very difficult, these moments in life. Verse 15, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. A gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great. This means be generous. Be generous, guys. In a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right until someone comes forward and cross-examines. So there's a podcast. I live in Missoula, Montana, and there's a podcast called the Missoula Podcast, and there's like 300 subscribers. Like, it's meant for us here to watch it. And they interviewed the sheriff, our sheriff, and he seems like such a nice guy. And I know we always have these perceptions of law enforcement. I still retain many of these perceptions of law enforcement, because they need to change that perception. But he was saying when he was a new officer or deputy, or I don't know what you call it, but when he was new to law enforcement, he loved it, but he quickly found out that somebody he'll answer like a domestic violence call, and he'll talk to the woman and be like, oh yeah, hear her story, be like, yeah, we got to take the guy to jail because he did something. And then they go and talk to the guy, and the guy has just as believable of a story that contradicts the woman's story, and you don't know what to do. And anyway, the guy that's a sheriff now said one of his earlier lessons was that you don't quite know the truth. Like what can seem like the truth isn't necessarily so, which requires the investigation. So in a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right until someone comes forward and cross-examines, right? The commentary. These concise statements give us 3 basic principles for making sound decisions. Number 1, get the facts before making any decision. Number 2, be open to new ideas. And 3, make sure you hear both sides of any story before making judgments. All 3 principles center around seeking additional information. This is difficult work, but it avoids bias and prejudice. Don't judge before getting the facts. I'll tell you this. I was ending a relationship. This was like maybe 8 years ago. I was ending a relationship and I was talking to my friend and I was like, and then he did this and he's such a jerk and blah, blah, blah. And I was trying to get her to like chime in with me and be like, yes, screw him, because she knew him too. And she was like, Lakita, like, I don't know what it's like to be in a relationship with you. Not that you're a bad person, but maybe like there's a reason why he did this, that, and the other, and I've thought about that ever since when I hear my friends complain about their relationships. It's like, I don't know what it's like to be in a relationship with you. Like maybe this person yelled at you, but maybe you did something worth yelling about. Could be the fact of the matter. Let's see, verse 18, casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. A brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city. Disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. During COVID, I was a para-educator. I lived in Georgia, but my job was online in California. And my job, I created like little games. And so one of them, because we were all on a screen, so you'd have like 20 kids on a Zoom call, basically. And it was my job to keep them emotionally regulated. So if the child became dysregulated for any reason, was unfocused or whatever, the teacher would put me and the child into a separate, like a breakout room or whatever. So that was kind of my job. But I also created games that would do like segments. My segment was called Get Ready with Miss Key. And one of the games was Speak Life. And what it was is you would just pick the person, whoever was to the right of you or left of you or below or above you, whatever, right? Whoever was to the right of you, you would speak life to them. And you would tell them something that you like about them or that you admire about them. And you can't use the word nice. They're nice, because children will often default to like, I like Salustiano. He's really nice. And it's like, you're not saying anything. That's a lazy thought. And we can't have that even at an 8-year-old age. You need to be able to identify positive traits. And the other part of it is a socio-emotional game, not to get too into it or whatever, but it's a socio-emotional learning game in that it is a very good skill to have to be able to harvest positive qualities from a person. If you think about the best bosses and supervisors and managers you've ever had. They retain positive information about you and then tell you about yourself. That's a leadership quality. So that was the purpose of the game, Speak Life. And I think Allison the other day was like, oh, Key, you're so positive. And it's like, it's not positive. It's just like, it's a skill you have to want to hone, is to see the best in people. You have to want to be a person like that and then work on it and become that person. Verse 22. He who finds a good wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. That's an oft quoted wedding verse, I think. I think it's true. I think a man that has, hey, Allison, I think a man that has a quote unquote good wife, a supportive wife behind him, a loving wife, outwardly loving wife, I think he would be unstoppable. You know, and I'm often curious, you know, sometimes I am not a wife. I observe my friends in their relationships. I remember one time I had a friend, and I personally just wouldn't do this, but she was upset with her boyfriend, and and we had all gone out together, and she was being very, very, very nasty to him. And what I thought, and I'm not this type of woman, obviously, but what I thought was, if I was like an evil woman and I wanted this man, you're like setting it up. Like you're emasculating him in front of me. And all it would take is for me to just like pick up I don't know what the sports term is, but like pick up the football and run with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I see, I think, I don't know. There's a whole conversation online right now about what men want, but I also think different men want different things. Oh, hi, Allison. Yeah. Allison says, I like this talk I just walked into. It's Proverbs 18, verse 22. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. And it just kind of made me think, like, yes, a good wife is a good business partner. This is what I talk about this sometimes in like therapy, is like, my man, I want my man at this stage, because I'm grown. I'm like grown. I pay my own bills. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just independent. So in the way of like adding to my life, and I know there's a conversation of like, well, the woman should just support the man. I think it's also contextual, because once you're at a grown age and you're not going to be having babies, like that's out of the picture for me. You know, the context kind of changes. Anyway, I would want to be a business partner with my husband in some respect. Like, we're building toward something and we're doing that together. Otherwise, I just I don't know. Well, who knows what the Lord has, but be a good wife is the point. Don't emasculate your man. Allow him to make decisions and be supportive in that. Bless that man. Be a blessing to that man, as he should be to you. He doesn't get out of it either, right? Commentary. This verse makes it clear that a married person should view his or her spouse as a great gift from God. Strong individuals are important, and so are strong marriages. God created marriage and pronounced it good. This is one of many passages in the Bible that affirm marriage as a joyful and good creation of God. Yeah. Exactly. Allison says, don't be Lot's wife, right? He's like, come on, bro. And she's like, let me just Eve anybody, you know? I don't know. Verse 23. The poor plead for mercy, but the rich answer harshly. I wonder how the commentary is going to go for this. The poor plead for mercy because you put yourself in a position. I was thinking about poor people today. That's a wild intro, isn't it? I was thinking about different levels of poor people. There's like homeless people, and then I watch these videos, and like this guy offered a woman some alcohol on the street, and she's like, no, I'm actually a Christian and I'm just old and kind of, you know, and then we look at I was reading an article about how rent keeps going up and our elderly are on fixed rates. And I do not mean for this to sound insensitive. There's some of us who have been there. There's some of us who are going through it right now and not making changes. But even the elderly, as the prices go up, as when they were our age, the prices were going up still too, right? And somewhere in there was a disconnect. And this is why I talk to the middle class. You like prepare. The time is coming where there won't be a middle class. I don't know how many times I can say that. And literally nobody listens. You know what I mean? The time is coming where there won't be a middle class and there will be maybe like an upper middle class and up. So 106, that like six figures and up. And then there will be like a working poor, right? Like, and that time they predict is coming in like 25 years. So if you have that information now, maybe turn off your TV and like figure out, especially if you're married and you come up with a game plan or something. And my point is like, the people were like, the elderly, they're on fixed incomes and it's not fair that the rent is raised because they're going to end up homeless. And I do not mean to sound callous. It's not my heart, but the 70-year-old that is struggling with rent now was once a 35-year-old that didn't care. That said, I'll deal with it later. Or that wanted to party. And now, what is it? The chickens come home to roost? So I don't mean to sound insensitive about that, but that's the reality of it. And so however old we are now, if you know this is happening in 25 years, I started doing Uber Eats just for a backup plan. Just for a, do you know how many, I'll tell you right now, I do Uber Eats, I donate plasma, I go to the food bank, I work on the food truck, and I have my 9 to 5, plus I have the professional friend business. I have 6 jobs. And somebody's looking at me like, oh, you shouldn't have to do, fair has nothing to do. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's not fair. I also, anybody could tell you in my 20s, I was a beast tearing up the streets. You know what I mean? And so somebody started saving. So I didn't have the knowledge to save or do any of this, but I have it now. And if you're broke right now, you also know that you're broke. So go do something about it. Like I just said, I've offered 3 people the opportunity to double their income and receive 2 no's. So I personally don't want to hear it. If you're able-bodied, sorry, this did go off on a tangent. I didn't mean to go there with it. I'm just saying, if you're able-bodied in North America, I don't know what the reason could be. And if you have a child, you know how difficult it is. Quit having all these kids. If you can't have the one, I went broke behind both of my kids. I had money before them. I went dead broke. I mean, in the hole, in debt behind my kids. That's all I'm saying. If you care about, Allison says, if you care about someone, you set them up to not have to depend on anyone. Exactly. And so going back to, I know I went off on this, but I feel like people just don't listen, or they think I'll just deal with it later, or there's analysis paralysis. They don't know where to start. Start with Uber Eats, or start every time you say, no, I can't do this because, you might as well stop talking to somebody like me. I don't like shots. Who likes a shot? Who wants to get a shot with BioLife, with plasma? Who's trying to do that? Nobody. But go on and get your $500 a month. Go on and get it. It's okay. We're grown. The poor, speaking of my cousins, Marco Poloing me right now, talk about he grew up on the south side of Chicago and really like did his big boy thing in life. No excuses. And if you do have excuses, just acknowledge that it's an excuse. That's okay. Sometimes you want to just complain and feel bad. Just say that, you know? So the poor plead for mercy. That's why I went off on that whole tangent. But the rich answer harshly because they don't care. I read this thing and it makes so much sense to me. And this isn't like a black, white thing or anything like that. But I read that, I know it's going to piss somebody off. But I read that white people aren't racist. They just don't care. They just like stopped caring about the plight of other people because they started to have their own issues, or they felt like the programs were being taken advantage of, or whatever the case might be. And I think the same, and not to conflate, just because you're rich doesn't mean you're white. And just because you're white certainly does not mean that you're rich. But the same thing goes for rich people. I think rich people stop caring about poor people and all these problems because the worst of us took too much advantage of the programs. And you know, anybody that's in a position that has means is just kind of like, see, this is why I don't do this. This is why I don't mess with people like that anymore. And it's like, I can't even hold you. It's just the way that it is. I think we all are born with hearts of generosity and love. And we all are born, we have like these nice, kind hearts. And some of us, we get burnt at 6 years old and we're like, you know what? I'm done with everybody. Some of us, it takes us till we're 26 years old. Some of us 66. But eventually you get sick of other people's stuff and you start identifying types of people that you're sick of their stuff. I'm no exception. I'm not going to say it on here, but there's definitely types of people that I'm like, I'm kind of over hearing a sad story. Like, you got to do something about it at some point. Allison says, I was homeless 4 years ago and we did Uber Eats till my husband got a job. It's a blessing if you've got a car and can pass a background. Exactly. And even to that, that's such a good point. Thank you. I said, I used to work in housing and I was the wrong person. I was the wrong person for that job for sure. Actually, I just met with the girl who replaced me after I resigned, and I told her like, you're like way better because you have the bleeding heart. You feel bad. So one thing I used to say is, for poverty, one of the biggest barriers is transportation. Do you know what I mean? Because all these things I told you, to Allison's point, all these things, these six streams of income that I just told you about, all of them are essentially reliant on a car. And I have a relatively new car. I have a nice car. And how I managed to get that car was because I had a nice car before that. I traded in it's been on here. What did I have? Is XC90 Volvo. I had a Volvo XC90 that I used as the down payment for the car that I have now. So that's not a flex. What I'm saying is, if ever I became homeless, I have a vehicle. I have it's a crossover vehicle, one of like hybrid vehicles. And it also has, I mean, it's got like 60, I just made 60,000, but I bought it with like 50,000 miles on it, and it was one owner. So it's a privilege. And when I go to the food bank, the average person, people don't want to talk about it. The average person spends $400 to $600 per person on groceries every month with inflation. And those were 2023 numbers. So it's probably more now, but $400 to $600. I tell people all the time, go over to the food bank. And do you know what I hear? It's two things. One, pride. I don't want to go be with the poor people. You're poor. You're poor. We're all poor. Like, you ain't rich that you could, I mean, maybe you got it like that, but you don't. You don't. So it's pride. You don't want to be with those types of people. And the other thing I've heard is like, but I don't get to choose what kind of food. They don't have the kind of food that I like. And it's like, okay, no problem. And that's when I know to stop talking to somebody like that. Because I would rather sit here and take this ground beef with this spinach and this pasta right here and whip up a meal and eat the same thing 3 days in a row and save my 600. So between the plasma, I know I'm going off topic, but between the plasma and the food bank, that's an additional $1,000 per month of your income. But people don't want to hear that. But the car, you could take the bus to the food bank. But if you have a job and you're going on your like lunch break or something like that, the car is real talk. It's a flex to have a car, But before that, there was a whole decade almost where like I rocked with my bike too. I'm just saying, like, if you have an excuse, you'll just have an excuse. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you want something like in America, man, I don't get it. I guess I don't understand the mentality. This is North America. So if you want something, you can go get it. I think people just don't like how long that it might take it or take longer, or they're upset that Judy down the street was born into it. And it's like, but Judy down the street doesn't even have a story. You can't even respect what she does. You can't respect Judy and Jared that were born into money. Why is that respectable? You didn't do anything. If you get it out the mud, you have something you lay your cojones on the table. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I did. That's what I think about that. Verse 24, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Commentary. We see loneliness everywhere. Many people feel cut off and alienated from others. Being in a crowd just makes people more aware of their isolation. Lonely people don't need to hear, "Have a nice day." They need friends who will stick close, listen, care, and offer help when it is needed, in good times and bad. It is better to have one such friend than dozens of superficial acquaintances. Instead of wishing you could find a true friend, seek to become one. That can go left. That can go left. I think seek to become one and then exercise discernment. That's how I got my feelings hurt last year being a friend. If you look around, you'll find people who need your friendship. Ask God to reveal them to you and then take on the challenge of being a true friend yourself. I would also say, like, I think we just exist. Most of us, we tend to just exist in the world and do not work on personal development. How to communicate better, how to be a better friend. Oh, Ben says, yeah, it was a Volvo. Yeah. Ben. Yeah, that Volvo was sweet, but it was a headache. It was such a headache. I would say, I was just talking to somebody about this, that's a therapist, and she was saying that most people are incapable of holding your heavy moments with you. And that really resonated with me. I think I'm the type of person that people want to be friends with. And that's not a egotistical thing. It's that I'm a loving person, and people will always gravitate toward someone who wants to love them. And so good for them. And I enjoy loving people. Where there has been trouble in my friendships has been when I deal with depression. So the sunshiny, hey, Lakeitha's here, all that goes away. I really don't even want to talk or I might start crying or something like that. And so in my life, when people have left me, it's been while I've been going through a depressive episode, almost exclusively. And so that makes sense. But I think I have a friend recently that went through a depression. It also makes me a better friend. That if I see you going through depression, I can hold that with you. But also people will take advantage. They'll take you for granted. If you're around too much, what is it? Familiarity breeds contempt. If you are consistently showing up for somebody, they'll expect it. I was thinking about it today. The example would be you move to a new neighborhood and your neighbor brings you a cupcake on the first day and you're like, that's really nice. And then the second day, cupcake. Third day, cupcake. And it's like, wow, we're just friends. And this is the greatest thing. And the fourth day, cupcake. Fifth day, cupcake. Sixth day, they show up, no cupcake. And you're like, oh, wow, this is my friend, but they didn't bring my cupcake. They didn't bring my cup. So now you're looking at the person kind of crazy, but you always bring, but you don't want to say it. You know what I mean? Because you're not entitled to it, but you start treating them a little bit funny because you started to take it for granted that they would always bring the cupcake when they didn't have to do any of it. It was their friendship that was being given to you, not the cupcake. So we have to be careful with that, with one another, that we're looking maybe for the extra stuff that comes with the friendship, the ability to introduce somebody. I had somebody want to be friends with me after she saw that I knew several people in the community that she wanted to know. And she was like, oh, Lakeitha, I didn't know you were so well connected. And it's like, that's what happens when you're a friendly person and you treat people with respect. You just get to know a lot of people. But somebody else I knew that we worked with just saw that same person, and the person who wanted to be friends with me was highly dismissive. Why? Because that other person we worked with couldn't offer her anything anymore. And that's how friendships go a lot of the time. Allison says, I'm that person who always reaches out first, but no one will reach out back to me. Kind of hurts sometimes, especially from family. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I have an app. If I had my other phone, I would show you. I have an app called Echo. And if I vibe with you, mainly if we're in person, one of my favorite things, maybe like a kindness shenanigan, I'll hand you my phone, which is big in and of itself, because I think people are just nasty in general. Let me back that up. That was not nice. I don't trust other people's hygiene. So I don't want you touching. I don't even want people in my house. Does that sound bad? I don't even want people in my house, but I definitely don't want you touching my stuff. So if we're vibing and I really feel like it's a moment, I will hand you my phone. I'll open Echo and I'll hand you my phone, and then you'll put the date and your name and a prayer. Because I'll pray for you, right? It's for you to pray. When the person's name comes up, it's randomized. It gives me one person a day to pray for at 3:15. Your prayer will come up, and because I have you not tell me, so that hopefully we develop a relationship, and I kind of know what's going on anyway. But anyway, all the people who pop up on my Echo, the day you pop up, if we're not like mortal enemies by now, I will send you a text and I'll be like, hey, your prayer just came up. Like, how are you doing? How has the Lord answered this prayer? Is there another? And it's a great way to stay in contact with people. But here's what happened. I got all satty pans, and we're batting 2 for 2 this year. I've had 2 depressive episodes this year so far, and it's only July. Boo. So then you don't hear from people, to Allison's point. Like, I cared enough about you to want to spend time in prayer, interceding for you. And you, maybe it's time or distance, whatever the case might be. But it's like, I thought about you and you did not think about me. And that is hurtful. And it's just, I guess, another terrible fact of life. Terrible fact of life. I gotta get going. I gotta crush some coffee beans. Boo. That's another way to save money. It's like $10 at Costco. You get this like huge, you gotta put it in the grinder, baby. Put it in the grinder. Now you've got a big, huge gallon bag filled with coffee grounds. For some reason, it's up there with like washing dishes with me, even though I'm just pressing a button. I've got to defrost chicken in 20 minutes somehow. Girl, I know that's right. We're trying. We're adulting and trying. All right, dear Lord, thank you for this time together, this robust conversation over Proverbs 18. I just want to thank you personally for the provision in my life, and those who are watching or listening to this episode in the future, Lord, I want you to place on their hearts the level of provision that you will provide, that you only want good things for your children, Lord. And just as you have reached out and chosen us, we too need to reach out and choose you back. Live in obedience. Be good community members. Love and serve others. Uphold biblical financial principles, good Lord, that you have provided. Just want to thank you for this day, and God willing, thank you for tomorrow as well. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Is it Saturday? No. Is it only Friday? Wow. So much has happened today. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Bada boom, bada bang.